what I'm saying? Yeah. The fanatic. Where we keep it 100, keep it real. That's the only way we know how to be. Talking that sports talk. You know what I'm saying? Straight out of South Carolina. Upstate, A64. Yeah. The FANATTIC. The fanatic where we keep it OG. We talking sports, so I call what I
Welcome into the Fanatic Sports Channel for sports fans by sports fans. It's your boy Coach I. What's going on, good people, man? We in here for another season preview. This time we will be previewing the reigning, not defending, reigning because nobody can take it away, ACC champions. That's right, the Pitt Panthers. And of course, you know when I talk Pitt, I got to bring my boy in, my boy JJ Kitchens. What's going on, JJ?
Nothing much, man. Again, just thanks for having me on. It's always good to talk college football in general, but there's nothing better than talking about the Pitt Panthers here in Pittsburgh. So thanks for having me on.
Hey, no problem, man. Felt to people out there, man. We're going to touch on some key losses and returners. Go hit the schedule overview. We're going to get what JJ thinks the fan base is feeling like this year on their chances of going back to the ACC title, and then get JJ on record with some predictions. So let's go ahead and jump right in, man. Like, man, y'all coming off a good year, a great year. I mean, you're talking about 11-3, 10-2 in the regular season. Got the ACC championship win. You lost to Miami. That was it. I mean, and Western. What was it? Western. Western Michigan. Oh my God! Like, before we go any further, what happened, JJ? I didn't even watch the game because it was Western Michigan.
So, again, I was at that game, and I can tell you this. It's just the offense did what the offense does. There were some key plays where they didn't make, but guess what? They scored, 42 points. Yeah. You look at the defense. It was just, great execution. Obviously, Sky Moore from Western Michigan went to the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a hell of a wide receiver. I think he did a great job. And they also had a great quarterback as well. But, in reality, the biggest thing is their defense. You could see the stretches where they had slant routes that were issues. They weren't covering them. I think that's really what it was, just the passing game. But then you saw the adjustments after that game. It's almost like that game was the defining moment going into that ACC run. You looked at it and it was like, wow, like this has the potential to be a great season even after that. That's really the biggest thing. I think overall, Pitt made the adjustments, and those adjustments were the most important thing going forward.
And from that team, man, with that one hit, I actually call that. I don't call the Miami game a hiccup because it's like they're like y'all Achilles heel, man. I don't know something about Miami and Pitt. It's like the rivalry nobody knows about. So other than that Western Michigan game, man, it was a great year. Y'all balled out, and the scary thing is, y'all lost Keaton Slovis, Jordan Addison, your OC, but you bring a lot of guys back. Like, I saw an article today, man. I think it was wrote like a week or two ago, said you guys may have the best defensive line you've had ever.
Yeah. When you look at Pitt, I think they've really, at this point, even around the country, they've really defined themselves as that team that develops defensive linemen. And that has a lot to do with Charlie Partridge. Charlie Partridge is by far, in my opinion, and it can be biased a little bit, but I look at overall results and who he's recruiting, how he develops. In my opinion, Charlie is number one as a defensive line coach when it comes to development. A guy that, when he was at Wisconsin, they talked about J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt was the big prime guy that he developed, and they still talk to this day. The relationship between Charlie Partridge and J.J. Watt is incredible. But you look at guys that he's developed. You had the guys like Jalen Twyman, Rashad Weaver, Patrick Jones. You look at those three guys, three of them All-Americans. Then now you have Kalijah Cansey, Habakkuk Baldonado out of Rome, Italy, finding guys there. And, he played in Clearwater, Florida. It's just, and then you look at a guy coming up, Dayon Hayes, and you have Deslin Alexander in his final year.
John Morgan.
And I think, John Morgan, he's going to be a guy that really steps up this year. I think he's going to be, Baldonado had the most sacks last year. Look for John Morgan to really just present a force. If you look at his just strength, his speed, but more importantly, his technique and how he's developed through the years. He comes from a tremendous family where coaching coaching's in their family. And I can tell you this, it's going to be one heck of a year for John Morgan and that D-line, especially going forward.
And with a good D-line, man, that's going to help out that secondary. You guys returned a couple of people in that secondary. You got the linebacker, Savasier Dennis. I got Clemson as the best overall defense in the conference, but Pitt and NC State, you guys can make some noise in that category, man. And that's going to go a long way, especially with the offense. Like I say, I think we can't deny that losing Addison and Pickett are going to be, some hurdles to get over, because Pickett was a baller. He balled out last year. And Jordan Addison, he won the Biletnikoff. However he left, he still put it down on the field, but you guys do bring back, what's the 6'3" wide receiver? Jalen, is that his name? Jaden. Yeah.
Jared Wayne.
Yeah, Jared Wayne. That's him. So you got him and you got Keydon Slovis. What are you thinking about Keydon Slovis?
I'll tell you this, Pat Narduzzi released today saying, it's a quarterback competition. I think that's great, just saying there's a competition going on, because Nick Patty is a guy that if he left Pitt today, he would start in a Power 5 somewhere. That's how good that guy is. Okay. In my opinion, Keydon Slovis will be the starter going forward. He's here for a reason, and he has that potential, but he's shown it. And, again, anybody that would say, that Pitt's not going to miss Jordan Addison is just lying. Jordan Addison, Biletnikoff Award winner. But the biggest thing, though, is you had Pickett. I think Slovis will do really well. But when you look at that wide receiver room, you had one guy that was there that was phenomenal. And look, if Jordan was still there, they're easily number one in the ACC.
Yeah.
But I think the guys to look for this year, and it's funny, today it was day one of fall ball camp. And I can tell you this, in camp, just the first day, you look at a guy like Kanate Mumpio that came out of Akron. He was a freshman All-American last year. A guy, tremendous route runner, speed, great hands. A guy is going to be tremendous this year. Then you look at a guy, again, like Jared Wayne, the pride of Canada, they call him here in Pittsburgh. He's a guy that's going to be tremendous again. Development has been his greatest asset. You look at a guy like Bub Means. Bub Means out of Louisiana Tech. He transferred from there. He's a guy that's going to play very well. He's going to be a deep threat. Guy 6'3", built like a truck. You look at the overall recruiting, but I think the two biggest guys that you're going to see that are going to be the more important ones for this year's team, because of the differences that you saw from last year to this year, is going to be Tyquan Underwood, the wide receiver coach and the pass game coordinator for Pitt, and Frank Cignetti. Frank Cignetti was here back in the 2009-2010 year where Pitt won 10 games. They had guys like Billy Stahl, Jonathan Baldwin. You had Doran Dickerson, guys that were, Jonathan Baldwin was a first-round pick. Doran Dickerson was a tight end, All-American that year. I think that Cignetti, he revived Phil Dracovich's career in Boston College before he came here. He's a guy that he goes by, it's not just his system, it's about putting the guys in the right position to be successful. That's why Frank Cignetti has done well through his career and why he was good here at Pitt the first time. If he did so well with Bill Stahl, and I think Bill Stahl was a good quarterback, but what he was able to get out of him was impressive. Yeah. I can't even wait to see what he does with a Keydon Slovis and the run game that he has, a returning 5 offensive linemen, Gavin Bartholomew. You're looking at all the potential to where you bring back all of these star athletes and all the production that's really there. You really lost Kenny Pickett and Jordan Addison that are 2 big ones. But overall, you look at this team, the expectation, in that locker room, you've heard, I've heard the players say it before, and they've made it well known. It's not just the ACC championship game anymore. It's the national championship. This program wants to take the next step. And a guy like Pat Narduzzi he's set that standard. And he's brought the right guys in that fit that culture, and their development is off the charts. And that goes down to, guys like Corey Sanders, the safeties coach, Archie Collins, the cornerback coach, Dave Borbley, the offensive line coach. It's a flux of all guys. Charlie Partridge, Pitt's in a very good spot, and I'm very impressed. But more importantly, I'm very optimistic about this year.
I'm telling you, and with the change in quarterback and OC, it helps to have all 5, like you said, all 5 of those old linemen coming back. And when a team is like that, when you got the trenches returning on both sides of the ball, like skilled players catch up faster, I feel like, and can make an impact faster than like, especially offensive linemen. Offensive linemen take time to develop, but you guys are bringing that back. You got running backs coming back. I think at the beginning of the season, just because there's different play callers on each level, you got the OC new this year, not new to Pitt, but new this year. And then Keydon Slovis learning the lingo. I think the defense will start out where they're not carrying you guys, but holding it down so that, you know, some of those mistakes aren't as big because they're able to get the ball back for you. But speaking of that, let's get into the schedule, man. I mean, you guys start this year with West Virginia.
The about time it's back. You know, this is a game that's so important to Pitt fans and to West Virginia fans. It's a heated rivalry. You know, I look at it, and, you know, I've done the analysis on both teams. And again, you know, on paper, everything looks good on paper, where it looks to both teams. But, you know, from what I've heard and what I've seen and what I've studied, you know, I think Pitt's in a good position. I think that it's going to be a good day for them. You know, anything can go any other way because it's the first game of the year. There's a lot of high, you know, running tension. But, you know, the optimism with Pitt fans right now, and hearing from the ticket office that, you know, again, we've broken a record again for season tickets this year. You know, that's big. That's, you know, it's just building at this point. You're looking at levels to where Pitt is taking that next step. And, you know, you got West Virginia game 1. Then you have the Tennessee Volunteers coming into to Acrisure Stadium in game 2. You know, you start off with 2 hardcore games. You know. And then you have Western Michigan again in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
This is starting to happen more and more in college football, where we're doing home and home with group of fives. I'm seeing, like, this is the third one. You know, I think South Carolina went to East Carolina last year, and I was looking at, I think North Carolina goes to App State this year, so it's happening more and more.
So you look at that, and I think, you know, I think Pitt's going to be very, very much ready this year. You know, they don't have Sky Moore. They don't have the quarterback that they had last year that was tremendous. And I think they're just going to be overall prepared. Yeah. You know, you look at that. And then, of course, you still, you know, they dodged Clemson this year. You know, they beat Clemson last year at Heinz Field, but they don't have them this year. You know, but you still have the coastal lineup. You know, you look at a team like North Carolina, they're going to bounce back. You know, I'm not really sure. I think there's a lot of hype always around them because of Mac Brown. He's always, you know, he's a guy that, you know, he did well at Texas a little bit, but he's kind of underachieved in recent years, you know. But then you have Brent Pry, who's starting off at Virginia Tech. It's going to be a low year for them. Georgia Tech's a wreck right now. I think, you know, Jeff Collins is in his last year there.
Most definitely.
Duke, yeah, you're looking at Duke with a new coach. I think Mike Elko's a great coach. He's going to struggle first year. You know, so it really comes down to, in that schedule, in my opinion, it's going to be that, you know, Virginia's always got a good offense, but they have a different coach this year, and Tony Elliott.
Totally different.
Yeah. So you look at that offensive set, you know, it's going to change. But in reality, I think the game that Pitt fans should really have circled is one that's going to be, it's going to be challenging like it is every year, is Miami. For some reason, you know, we beat Miami in 2017 when they were ranked second in the country, but then when we're ranked this year, you know, we don't beat them at home. Yeah. You know, so you look at it, Miami's going to have talent regardless. But it's this year where I think Pitt really takes that next step because of the veteran leadership. You look at the guys, you know, again, the offensive line, the defensive line. You have guys like Carter Warren, who's back again, Jake Cradle, you know, out of Butler here and from the Whippeal. You look at him, Gabe Boy, Habakkuk Baldonado, you know, Elijah Cansey. These guys are leaders. They're tremendous young men, and I think that they're going to have the standards high to where, you know, hey, you know, going to a national championship, those aren't words. They said they're going to win it. They said they're going to win the ACC last year. They did it. I see them really pushing the envelope this year to make things really, really competitive. And of course, you got Servassier Dennis there in the middle. And I think, you know, he is a guy that he's just so intelligent. He knows the defense in and out. It's a good team. It's a very good team.
And to make any kind of playoff run, championship run, ACC championship run, you gotta have some things. You gotta have coaching, which you got Pat Narduzzi. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have talent. You got talent. You gotta have some things go your way, and it doesn't hurt to have a schedule that favors that run. I'm looking at the schedule, man. Like, you guys start off with the rivals, you know, West Virginia. What's crazy is, for all intents and purposes, this is an East Coast rivalry with 2 West Coast quarterbacks that came from the same college playing against each other. And then you got Tennessee. So you start off out the blocks, 2 hard hitters right off the bat. And it's not an easy schedule by any means, but you look at those next I mean, 9 games. You're looking at Western Michigan, Rhode Island, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech. That right there, and then you get an off week. So you get an off week to prepare for Malik Cunningham and the Cardinals. And then it's North Carolina replacing Sam Howell. I mean, it's going to be a tall task replacing Sam Howell. And I'm like you. I think Matt Brown did good. It's decent his first year. Then the second year, he did really, I don't know if they overachieved, but they had a lot of offensive weapons. They lost all of that last year. And I think it's going to be hard to replace all that. Then you got Syracuse, Virginia breaking in a new coach. Duke is who they are. And then you end. So it's like you got bookends on that schedule. You got West Virginia, Tennessee, and then you end with Miami. So the schedule is there. Let's just say that. The schedule is there. It's not to say that any of those teams couldn't beat Pitt on any given day, but the schedule is definitely there to make that run. So with that said, man, like from what you're hearing, I know you're in tune with the fan base and everything. Like, what's the confidence meter, on repeating as Coastal champs and getting another shot at the ACC title?
So I think repeat Coastal champs, I really have them like 8.5 out of 10 right now. Okay. It's extremely high. I think what Pitt fans are seeing now is, of course, the question marks are really the offense because a new offensive coordinator, different quarterback. But I think that, they understand we have a veteran offensive line coming back. We have a veteran running back in Izzy Abanikanda. I think Izzy's going to have a 1,000+ yard season. I think he's going to be an animal. And then you look at a guy like Rodney Ham. He's a smaller guy, but he's just powerful. Every time in the fourth quarter last year, that's who they brought in because that guy can run people over. And I think a guy, the emergence of Daniel Carter, and you'll see a little bit of Vincent Davis. They're positive because of the guys that we're returning, and I think they should be. This is a team, when you look at the overall schedule, you got your rival week 1 in West Virginia. Mm-hmm. You have week 2 Tennessee, and then I think your next tough game would be after the bye week at Louisville. And then your next hard game after that would be Miami. I think the table's there. I think the Pitt's just in a really good spot. It's funny, next year's really where things get really difficult, where there'll be more turnover. Yeah. And I think that, because obviously next year they have, West Virginia, Cincinnati, and Notre Dame next year on the schedule. So I think they take a step this year. I think this is really big for Pitt. I like the mindset. You've got a lot of veteran guys. I think that's why Pitt fans are really excited, and I can totally understand it because when you have it'd be different if it was all young guys and you had young guys who were on the defense and you had a completely different offensive line. Then you have reason to be a little concerned. What's the chances? But I think when you look at the team, to run the table, get to the ACC championship game, I really think they're going to face Clemson or NC State. In Clemson, right now, they're having a new offensive coordinator. Is DJ going to bounce back from a horrible year last year? What's going to change there? And then you have NC State where they have a good defense, but then they have a potential legitimate Heisman candidate in Devin O'Leary at quarterback. So, you look at the list overall, they have a reason to be optimal. Yeah. It'll be interesting.
Well, the good thing is with Miami being that last game, they have to play Clemson. You guys, like you said earlier, you guys don't have to play Clemson. So you guys could actually, lose that game and still make it to the ACC championship because, Miami has to, still play for whatever reason, Florida State still plays Miami good. You know what I'm saying? They beat them last year. So
yeah. That's right too. That just doesn't make any sense either for how badly, Florida State's been struggling. They just continue to beat Miami. It's just the ACC is that way, and I think it'll be another interesting year. And I've got Pitt winning at least 10 games this year again because of the strength that they have. You look at the overall schedule. I've got Tennessee as a toss-up because you never know because you have the Josh Heupel offense coming in, but Pat Narduzzi has beaten them the last 2 times in a row, when he was at UCF and now when he was at Tennessee. I think overall the one loss I have, I think just on there until they actually do it, and I think they will. But I have Miami as a loss because until they actually do it, you have to have Miami as a loss. So they're going to get 10 or 11 wins in my opinion. I think if it's 10, they lose. It's because they lose to Tennessee. Yeah. If it's 11, they beat Tennessee, or it could be 10 wins again where they do a funky thing and they go down to Louisville and they lose to Malik Cunningham. You never know. But I think the way this defense is built, You got Marquez Williams in the back end. You have Brandon Hill, Eric Hallett. You have MJ Devonshire out of Aliquippa. The talent's there. The veterans are there.
Yeah.
If they do their job, I think this is one heck of a year for Pitt. Another stepping stone, and you're going to see the legitimate, the legitimate argument that this is now not just a 1-year thing. This is now a built program, and Pat Narduzzi's built it.
Yeah, like you say, I'm in total agreement, man. I think that West Virginia and Pitt, West Virginia and Tennessee, because Tennessee I think is going to be good, or at least better. And West Virginia, because it's the first game of the year, rivalry game, you just don't know how, emotions will fly. Hopefully you're not too high. You never want to get too high for a game, come out, waste all your energy, running around, jumping, bumping chests and stuff. And then West Virginia sneaks up on you, and then you close the season with Miami. I'm not saying that those teams in the middle can't, but it's good that you do have an off week, before you have to take on Malik Cunningham. But other than that, man, I see worst case scenario. I see 9-3. That's worst case. I think, you know what I'm saying? I'm more. It's hard for, like, even with Georgia, like they got us at 10.5 season win totals. I think some people was like 12-0. It's not enough for me personally just to be better than each team each week. You know what I'm saying? On paper, like where games fall matters. You know what I'm saying? And with Pitt, the schedule is there, JJ.
I love how they start their schedule difficult. Where it doesn't matter how bad West Virginia was last year, where they were 5-7. Obviously they had a ton of transfers over the summer. They lost a number of starters in their back end. You look at they have Bryce Ford Wheaton coming back. They have that Wright kid out at the wide receiver as well. You look at it overall, you just can't take it. You can't take it lightly. And from listening to these guys today in the interviews and seeing how serious these guys are, there's a reckoning coming. And I think these guys, and especially two guys like John Morgan, Pablo Baldonado, Kalijah Cansey's going to go first round as a defensive tackle. That's a given. But these guys know they have to perform to get drafted high in the draft, like Kenny did last year. Damari Mathis left. He went to the NFL. The NFL draft, got drafted by the Broncos. You look at this, and you look at this team. They understand the goal. They understand what it takes to get to that point. And I think that with them not being satisfied, that's really 90% of the battle. The teams that get here, as long as they're not satisfied, and they know they want to take that next step, that's when you know you got a good spot. That's when you know you have good leadership. And this team has that leadership. I'm telling you, Pitt fans, it's going to be – this season has a chance to be very special, and I think they do. And you're going to see guys like Dayon Hayes break out this year. You're going to see guys like at linebacker, Solomon DeShields, Kamara. You're going to see them just show up and ball out. You're going to see guys like Izzy step up this year.
Yeah.
And I think the wide receiver position, I know everyone knows Kanate and Jared Wayne will do well. Look out for Bub Means. Everything that I've heard of Bub Means is a guy that he's physical. I've looked at the tape. He had a heck of a game against Mississippi State. It's lining up, and Pitt's doing a great job recruiting. And a guy like Tyquan Underwood, he's doing a phenomenal job bringing guys in. They're in a good spot. I'll put it that way.
So I'll tell you how I'm feeling overall on the season, and then we'll get your predictions so we can get you on record. Of course, you'll be on the channel, on the show multiple times this season. But I got you as a loss to Miami for like what you said. Until I see you do it, that things like that matters. And you asked me when we was off camera, like, why did I have us losing in the national championship to Bama? Because until I saw us do it, for the Tennessee game, I think that's a toss-up. I think you guys have beat them in the past, and you're definitely capable of beating them. I think they'll be a little bit better. I think that game is going to be a shootout. I really do. I think like you said, the only other game, I think West Virginia, you guys are a better team on paper. Like, I don't think that's a question. But there is something, if JT is healthy, Keydon's healthy, you got that old rivalry. I felt like JT had a little bit of that mentality against DJ because he played against DJ last year. When they played in high school, they was rivals. So I think you guys will win that game. I think it can be close. I'm just waiting on to see what Keaton Slovis is going to look like. If he looks like the prospect that they wanted him to be coming out of high school, I think that right there determines your season. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the difference between 9-3 and 11-1. If he comes out and he kind of like has a bumpy road, that could be 9-3. Worst case, worst case, I got you at 9-3. I think best case, I got you 11-1. I just can't give anybody 12-0 in the regular season.
Yeah. And I agree. Honestly, the way I see it is the worst case scenario, 9-3. And if they were to go 9-3, it would be losses. In my opinion, it would be losses to Tennessee, Louisville, and Miami. My prediction. Myself.
But you can still win the Coastal like that, though.
Yeah. So, in reality, though, I think, and I've thought about it. I see Pitt going 10-2.
Okay.
And again, I think they could go really easily 11-1 because of that game in Miami, and I think it's interchangeable. I think they could beat Miami this year because those guys are motivated, especially it's down in Miami. But I'm going to have the two losses to Louisville because it's at Louisville, and obviously Miami. Okay. So I'm going to go with 10-2.
Okay. If I had to go 10-2, I'm gonna go Tennessee and Miami, with you guys being only one loss in the Coastal. Only because, like I say, I think Malik Cunningham is a Lamar Jackson 2.0. I think when it comes to his weapons around him, he has some, but not like Hendon Hooker has at Tennessee. Even though you guys have, but you guys have beaten Louisville too. So I mean, it's not like Louisville's a thorn in the side or anything. So, but just it's gonna, and Tennessee's really early. One thing I do know, it's hard to adjust to that breakneck, don't like that, man. Running like 100 plays a game type deal, like that takes some getting used to, and that could wear down on you over the years. So if I said 10-2, Tennessee and Miami, which would still, in my book, have you guys in the ACC championship, which I actually do have you guys in the ACC championship facing Clemson. So you guys will get another shot to knock off the Tigers.
I know. It's just I just have a really good feeling. Just I think a guy like Frank Cignetti, and it could change. I could be completely wrong, but I think with a guy like Cignetti, who's very well known. I mean, heck, what he did at Boston College his first year with Dracovic, going from a completely 100% run offense to really going pro style. And I know it's still Dracovic, but he revived his career from sitting at Notre Dame doing nothing. They wanted to make him a tight end at Notre Dame. Now Dracovic's going to go to the NFL draft. He's going to get drafted in the first 2 rounds. I think what he's done, I just think with the weapons, so many more weapons that he has, I think it lines up. The stars are lining. It's going to be 2 years in a row. You're going to see Pitt win 10-plus games, and it's going to be a good year. And I have them going to the ACC championship game as well. I have Miami losing 2 games in conference, and it's to Florida State and Clemson.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Like I said, Florida State should be better this year. I know that's a rivalry. They go back and forth, but Florida State beat them last year. Maybe they didn't see Florida State coming. I don't know how that would happen since they're in-state rivals, but I definitely they got to go to the Valley. So I don't think they're going to beat Clemson in Death Valley. I mean, they've only lost 1 game since 2016 or something like that. So at home. So I think you with it. I think it's going to be a Clemson Pitt matchup in that ACC championship, man, as if all health goes according to plan. So health is always, that's something else you got to have. You got to have health when you're talking about health and depth. You got to have it when you're trying to make a run. Well, talking season's almost over, man. We got about 3 to 4 weeks and we'll be in this thing, man. I appreciate you coming back on. We're going to have you back on. We probably try to get you back on for that Tennessee game, man. You know what I'm saying? As long as West Virginia don't pull old upset. Have you in the dumps for a week.
I hope not. I got Pitt winning that game, man. I think it's at home. It's going to be a roaring crowd. Pitt takes care of business. I promise you that.
I think so, man. We appreciate JJ coming on. Pitt fans, if you agree or disagree, get down in the comments, man. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe for my man JJ Kitchens. Check him out on Twitter. Give him your Twitter handle, JJ, right quick.
Yep. So at JJ_Kitchen40. You can see me there on my personal account. And again, thank you, Pitt fans, for being supportive and This will be fun going forward. Love to you guys.
That's right, man. Coach Shine, the Fanatic, we out of here.
We got it jumping like it's that valley. I call my dogs out the pound, let's go eat. Turn on the Fanatic, let's have a debate. Who really hold down the Southeast from state to state? What team hungry gonna eat everything up off their plate?